Welcome everybody to a brand new meta-analysis. Today only one spec shall be discussed, debated, dissected and broken down. Feral Druid is S tier. What do you know? Were you expecting that?
Well, to be fair, when we tested it on the PTR, it was out DPSing Enhancement Shamans before Enhancement Shamans were nerfed, coming off of Season 1 where they were like the big dog.
Yep.
And we were like, bro, what is going on with Feral? This is so much damage. And the thing is, when we tested it on the PTR, we had max high level. Max gear, giga damage, and now people are getting there. And now you can kind of see that Feral is cracking.
Yeah, if you look at Archon.gg, you can clearly see it there with the top boys. And it's by no surprise, I guess. Traditionally, Feral wasn't like the spec to pick in a Mythic Plus environment. However, we've kind of like find out why more and more people are playing Feral, because we did have the Balance versus Unholy video where obviously if you're gonna be a meta slave, you're gonna get that Balance Druid in. Well, don't neglect the Feral Druids because they're very strong. And I guess we can start it off with the damage profile.
Yes, because that would probably be the biggest reason.
People always love damage. It's very important in dungeons. Obviously, if a big pack dies very fast, if a boss dies very fast, then you're going to have a better time overall in your dungeons. Now, do remember, this is looking at like the highest keys possible, okay? So, a Feral Druid will do well in a mid key as well. I guess we can have the argument they can do good in low keys too.
That's
the ramp. We have a ramp.
No, there's no actual ramp.
Not in the sense that it's a Boomkin ramp.
It's the playstyle is the same. So let's actually talk about why Feral is good and why it's looking better and better. First of all, it's the uncapped AoE, which of course Balance has that in Starfall as well. But Feral has had uncapped AoE for a long time. And this season, for the first time in many, many years, we just have very big pulls in a lot of the dungeons. Something that
we love.
Yes.
We love.
Yes.
More.
Players have been asking for this for a long time. And that's where Ferals shine, which is, if you remember back in Dragonflight and in Algathar Academy, you had Ferals doing millions of DPS an expansion ago, 4 seasons ago, because of the tree boss. So it's not a surprise. Feral hasn't drastically changed. It always had this option.
No.
That's also that. And to answer your question, it's not doing that well in smaller keys. You can probably see some footage as well. Theater of Pain is one of the dungeons where Feral will perform a little bit less because its value is uncapped AoE. It doesn't have that Red Paladin, Windwalker scaling in low target pools. Also, Havoc Demon Hunter excels in those. So you have other specs that do it better than Feral.
Plus, I do believe like the biggest damage contributor for Feral is Rip. And that is a bleed. So it's not like giga instant damage, as you mentioned, with Red Paladins and such. So yeah. Maybe in lower keys it won't do as well, but I was just trying to make a point like, listen, man, if a Feral Druid applies to your group, get him in, regardless of the key. I mean, if it's a Feral Druid main, he'll probably do very well and probably top the popular meta specs, although we should consider Feral Druid a popular meta spec right now.
Listen, we're probably ahead of the curve right now because, and you can watch some of the footage that we found from some of the better Ferals out there that are doing 16s and 17s. I don't think we have 18s. Nobody records their 18s. Everybody wants to be super secret.
But they're doing 18s, 19 logs as well. Regardless, so the damage profile is very, very catered to the actual Season 2 of Mythic Plus because there's a lot of like big pulls. Like think about the first pull in Cinder Brew. A Feral Druid over there can actually compete with the big AoE boys. And I'm thinking Balance, I'm thinking Unholy. And we've seen a couple of examples where Feral will actually out DPS an Unholy Decay. Granted, I don't know if that Unholy Decay got some good procs on his beast or not, but regardless, it's very nice to see.
20 million DPS Unholy Decay maybe has a... Well, maybe it doesn't have a beast, but that's not the point because you don't have that RNG with Feral. It's all very consistent and reliable damage.
This is another great factor. Feral is very consistent to the point when it knows when it will do big damage and it can get there with no RNGs whatsoever. Obviously, you have some RNG in the Apex procs. And I think that would lead to the argument that it does do well in priority damage if you get those Apex procs. I mean, as opposed to an Unholy Decay, for example.
Yeah, the thing is with Apex procs, because I've noticed this when I played Feral as well, if the pool is large enough, you'll just have Apex procs back to back.
Oh yeah.
They will not go, and then you can just sink all that damage into a hired muscle or into a knight in priory or whatever it is. You can just nuke that target. It's not arcane mage level, but it's obviously better than balance for sure. Balance doesn't really have priority damage.
Yeah. This is another argument. Like when you would think about getting a Feral Druid versus a Boomkin in your group, hey man, if you need some priority damage, and you mentioned Theater of Pain. Theater of Pain does have some priority damage. Feral Druid doesn't shine in that dungeon necessarily, but you do have a lot of targets that need to die fast. And with a lot of Apex procs, hey, Feral might just take the cake when thinking about or comparing it with a balanced Druid.
One last thing about the damage before we go into another point. There's something happening this season that I don't think ever happened in the last couple of expansions that I remember, is that we have kind of two different types of metas. We have the magic meta and the physical meta. The magic meta is what you probably know with Vengeance, Demon Hunter, Balanced Druid, Unholy, and Mage, most of all, because of, the Demon Hunter debuff. And then you have the physical meta with a monk and a warrior usually. They usually exist, a hunter, and then you can just add other types of melees like Assassination Rogue, Feral Druid, stuff like that, and it definitely works. It's about a key or two behind the magic meta, but then you can just take specs that you would probably never see in the top meta and actually have a synergy with them by having the Mystic Touch from the monk and the Battle Shout from the warrior. Then you can just juice up your ferals, your rogues, and whatever. And this is where feral usually shines in the
your
80s.
marksmanship hunters as well. Yeah, it is true, and this is probably one of the reasons why we see so many. I wouldn't say like a super giga diversity in the meta, but it's still way better than season 1.
I mean,
Let's
plus
just put it
18s.
like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot better than season 1. One major plus, I guess, or major pluses for feral as well, like comes into the like utility, CC, survival department. We're gonna break it down like in each cat. So being this season being not so melee friendly, let's say, but you do have you do have a lot of where are the mobs gonna stay? Basically around the tank.
There are advantages for melee still,
There are, well, especially for feral. But when you think about pools in dungeons, most of the mobs will stay somewhere in the proximity of the tank. A comparison between, let's say, Boomkin and Feral is with the in-cap roar. The risks of a Boomkin coming into melee and doing the in-cap are huge. He could die. He could get some sort of like weird melee mechanic.
Or worse, lose DPS.
Oh, I wouldn't go there. We will not say the sacred word.
It's not the end of the world. Obviously, Boomkins can do it, but you don't have that stressor when you play Feral because you're already there. Instead of just having to position to dodge the circles and then get into melee and do an in-cap roar, considering that we have, stopping defense in Priory or like multi-cast pools in Rookery, stuff like that. That's usually really good for those types of situations.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easier for Feral, basically, to get that CC or this drop done when things get a little bit south. Also, I would say like same as any Druid utility, obviously you're going to have like the soothes, the decurses, all of that, innervates for your healers. So that is already in the package. However, I think the biggest advantage, I would say, from a healer perspective, when compared to like a Boomkin.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. Dude, Feral is tankier than Balance, okay? And there's a couple of like talents and stuff that you go through that are accessible for Feral, like Survival Instincts, for example. It's like extra over there.
It's just an extra defensive.
Exactly. And it's so good because it alleviates a little bit of the pressure. Like for Boomkin, you have Barskin and Bear Form, and that's pretty much it. And even with that, I had so many Boomkins die in my hands. I'm traumatized. But also you have like what was it? The Frenzy Regen through
so you have with the Druid of the Claw gives you a couple of benefits. You can actually cast Frenzy Regen as a cat if it becomes necessary. It's not something that a lot of cats like to do because it costs energy. But you also have the improved bear form where...
Oh yeah, that as well.
When you can go into bear form, sure, like any other druid probably would. And then if you go out for 6 seconds, you retain some 80% of stamina and 80% of the armor from it. And that carries over for the next couple of seconds. Now, when it comes to stamina, that probably helps with like dots and bleeds and stuff.
Of course.
The armor is debatable. You're not going to get hit in the face for 6 seconds to make that armor count for anything. So That's already gone. It's if you're there, your tank is probably dead. So
yeah. But okay, so in this regard, it's better than Boomkin. It's not like, don't get me wrong, it's not a tanky spec. Feral is still considered among the squishy targets, but it is better than this video kind of turns out into like Feral versus Boomkin for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's my bias towards Boomkin.
That's usually the comparison that people make whenever you justify bringing a Feral or not bringing a Feral. There's always like, well, there's Boomkin. Why would you bring a Feral, right?
Yeah, exactly. The damage is great. The utility of the Druid is there like as any other Druid spec. And it's also tankier than Boomkin. It's not tankier than an Unholy Decay. It's not tankier than, I don't know, Red Paladin.
It's tankier than a Shaman. Probably.
It's probably, yes. That is true. It's tankier than the Shaman as well. So, like, right now, looking at this spec, like, I couldn't be more happy for Feral Druids. I always loved this spec, and I always felt like it, specifically in Mythic Plus, it always got the short end of the stick. It's happy times, and I'm so glad that we're talking about Feral Druid in S tier. It's a joy.
The cool part about it is that it's probably just going to get better as people are reaching max and max high level. Not to mention with the 11.1.5, whether you like or not the patch, it does extend the tracks for the gear, so you'll have even more high level. And seeing as how Feral does more now at 671, 672, whatever the Ferals are at the moment, as opposed to, let's say, a month ago when they were like 660s, it's clearly scales really well with high level.
I don't know. You know, there's a myth regarding the specs. Some specs just scaling better with item level and all of that. I mean, sure, if you just draw a line, all specs will scale better with more item level because that means just more raw stats. But apparently, as we've seen in the PTR, and we were like kind of expecting it, Feral is right now in S tier. And you made a good point. Let's check out this in a month from now, and I'm pretty sure Feral is going to be among the top melee specs.
I mean, Mage is pretty much in S tier with all of the specs right now for some reason.
Well, it's Arcane and Fire mostly, at least on
Frost is picking up. I've seen it. Well, it depends on who you watch the rankings from, right? And Shaman has both of them into A tier, very close to S tier. So right now is just the time when the class is good, not just one particular spec. So I'm hoping more for Feral.
Exactly. But hey, let us know in the comments. Do you play Feral? And if you do you have a good time? Do you feel like you're doing what we have talked about already in this video? Or do you think Feral is overpowered and needs a nerf?
No.
No. But hey, if you do, let us know in the comments. We're curious to see. And we'll be back with this series. I think the next one will be with the mages. You mentioned the mages.
Oh, shit. It's already scheduled. But until then, you can watch Unholy and Balance.
Make sure you click here to watch the debate discussion and dissecting of Unholy and Balance. Go ahead. Click it. It's nice. It's good for you.